First Contact and the Promise. Admiral Elena Vega straightened her ceremonial uniform as the massive doors to the Galactic Coalition chamber slid open with a soft hiss. Behind her stood Earth's first interstellar delegation, scientists, diplomats, and a small security detail led by Commander Jackson Wei. The weight of humanity's future pressed down on their shoulders. "Remember," Elena whispered to her team, "we represent all of Earth today." The Coalition chamber was a marvel of alien engineering, a vast circular room with walls that seemed to shift colors like living organisms. Around a crescent-shaped table sat representatives of 12 species, each more alien than the last. Some floated in specialized environments, others stood on multiple limbs, while a few appeared almost humanoid. High Arbiter Klovox, a tall crystalline being whose body refracted light in mesmerizing patterns, rose from the center position. The Galactic Coalition welcomes Earth's representatives, the translation device rendered in slightly mechanical English. Your species' achievement of faster-than-light travel qualifies you for consideration as probationary members of our Union. Elena stepped forward, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we thank you for this opportunity and look forward to peaceful cooperation. The negotiations lasted 17 Earth days. The humans proved more resilient and shrewd than the Coalition had anticipated. For every technology offered, Ambassador Sanjay Mehta requested detailed specifications. For every protection promised, he demanded concrete implementation plans. The humans negotiate as if they hold equal power, Klovox commented privately to Vaxilur, the Sethari representative whose gelatinous body housed 7 distinct brain clusters. "They are primitive but fascinatingly adaptable," Vaxilur responded. "Their planet has endured more internal conflicts than most species experience in twice their developmental timeline. Perhaps this explains their caution." By the 16th day, a framework agreement had been drafted. Humans would gain access to Coalition medical technology and faster ships. Earth would provide biological samples from its uniquely diverse biosphere and certain mineral resources unavailable elsewhere in known space. On the final day, as the treaty was being prepared for signing, Ambassador Mehta added an unexpected clause that caught the entire Coalition Council by surprise. "We require one absolute condition," Mehta stated, his voice echoing in the suddenly silent chamber. "The harming of human children will be considered an act of war against all of humanity. This is non-negotiable." The Coalition members exchanged puzzled glances. Such a specific protection seemed peculiar. Klovox tilted its crystalline head, a gesture the humans had learned indicated curiosity. "This is unusual. Most species naturally protect all their members equally," Klovox noted. "Then you should have no problem agreeing to it," Mehta replied without hesitation. After a brief conference, Klovox turned back to the human delegation. "Your young must be particularly vulnerable compared to other species. We accept this term, though we find it curious that you emphasize this specific protection." What the Coalition couldn't comprehend was the evolutionary and cultural significance of child protection in human society. Humans had developed as pack animals with unusually long child development periods. Their entire social structure had evolved around protecting their vulnerable young. The treaty was signed with appropriate ceremony. As Admiral Vega watched Mehta press his thumb against the biometric scanner, officially marking Earth's entry into galactic politics, Commander Wei leaned close. "Do you think they understand what that clause really means?" he whispered. Vega watched the aliens mingling, their movements still strange to human eyes. "No," she replied quietly. "They see it as a quirk of a primitive species. They have no idea." Within months, the first human colony ships departed for Proxima Centauri, renamed New Eden. The border world quickly became a symbol of human expansion and adaptation. Human engineers worked alongside Sethari builders to establish the colony's infrastructure. Children played in the settlement's central plaza, their laughter a sound completely foreign to many Coalition species. The humans reproduced quickly, observed Vueler observer Tresnak to his superior, Grand Tactician Cherishes. The Vueler were one of the 12 coalition species, known for their territorial nature and resource-focused politics. Their exoskeletal bodies housed sophisticated sensory organs that detected resource concentrations from great distances. Their children are everywhere, Tresnak continued, consuming resources at an alarming rate. The council approved their settlement. Cherishes reminded him, her voice resonating through specialized vocal chambers. For now, we observe only. Neither species truly recognize the significance of that treaty clause. To the coalition, it seemed like an odd but harmless condition. To humans, it was the most basic and fundamental protection they could imagine. Admiral Vega, now appointed as Earth's permanent representative to the coalition, often stood at the viewport of the space station overlooking New Eden. She watched human children playing under the light of an alien sun and thought about the clause in the treaty. They have no idea what they agreed to, she said to Wei, who had joined her at the viewport. No concept of what humans are capable of when our children are threatened. We nodded solemnly. Let's hope they never have to find out. 5 years passed. New Eden flourished, growing from a small outpost into a thriving settlement where humans and several coalition species lived and worked together. On a bright morning, with Proxima Centauri shining through the biodome's transparent sections, teacher Maya Chen checked her roster one final time. 24 excited children lined up outside the school building, their voices filling the air with chatter and laughter. Remember to stay with your partners, Maya called as she guided the children toward the waiting transport. The botanical gardens are beautiful, but we must follow safety protocols. The children, ranging from 6 to 9 years old, wore matching blue school uniforms with the New Eden colony emblem on their shoulders. For many, this was their first field trip to the famous gardens that showcased both Earth plants and alien flora. 8-year-old Zoe Reynolds could barely contain her excitement. My dad says some of the flowers can respond to our voices, she told her friend Elijah Park as they boarded the transport. Elijah nodded eagerly. My mom brought home a seedling that glows in the dark. It sits by my bed at night. The sleek transport rose a few meters above the ground, its transparent roof giving passengers a complete view of the colony and the wild beauty of New Eden's landscape beyond the dome. As the children found their seats, Amani Okoro waved to her mother, who worked as a technician at the transport hub. None of them noticed the small craft keeping pace with them from a distance, its Vueler design barely visible against the morning sky. Inside that craft, 3 Vueler observed the human transport with cold calculation. Grand Tactician Cherishes had traveled to New Eden secretly. For years, she had watched the human colony with growing concern. These creatures expand too rapidly, Cherishes told her 2 subordinates as they tracked the transport. Their resource consumption has increased by 43% in just the last cycle. At this rate, they will strip valuable worlds before we can secure them for Vueler future generations. Her aide Tresnak nodded in agreement. The coalition refuses to see the threat. The coalition is weak, Cherishes hissed. Sometimes action must be taken to protect our future. She had planned this operation carefully. A simple demonstration, nothing too severe by Vueler standards, would send a clear message to the humans. A minor incident will persuade them to slow their expansion. Cherishes explained. Humans are emotional creatures. They will retreat when they feel threatened. Inside the transport, the children had started singing a song about the botanical gardens. Maya joined in, her clear voice leading the chorus as the transport curved around the settlement's edge, heading toward the secondary dome that housed the gardens. It was at this perfect moment, isolated with poor communication back to the main colony, that Cherishes gave the signal. Now, she commanded. Her weapons officer activated the energy disruptor. A pulse of invisible energy shot from their craft, hitting the transport's propulsion and guidance systems. To the children inside, the first sign of trouble was a sudden lurch. Maya grabbed a handrail as the transport veered off course. Everyone stay in your seats, she called out, trying to keep her voice calm. Warning lights flashed across the control panel as the transport systems began failing one by one. The anti-gravity generator sputtered and died. For a terrifying moment, the transport hung in the air 20 meters above the rocky terrain below. Then it fell. Maya lunged for the nearest children, wrapping her arms around them as the transport plummeted. The screams of 24 children filled the air, cut short by the devastating impact as metal crushed against stone. From her ship, Cherishes watched dispassionately. "A regrettable but necessary action," she said. "Monitor for survivors and record the response for analysis." The crash echoed through the valley. The transport's emergency systems activated too late, only partially slowing the fall. The front section crumpled completely against the rocks. In the twisted wreckage, Maya Chen regained consciousness. Blood ran down her face from a gash on her forehead. All around her, children were crying and calling out. She pulled herself up, ignoring her own injuries, and began moving through the wreckage, helping children out of their harnesses. Rescuers later found the bodies of 5 children among the wreckage. Zoe Reynolds, who had been so excited about talking to flowers. Elijah Park, who kept a glowing plant by his bed. Imani Okoro, whose mother had waved goodbye at the transport hub, never imagining it would be for the last time. The colony's emergency response was quick. Medical teams arrived within minutes, treating the injured and transporting them back to the settlement. From orbit, Cherishes observed the rescue operation with detached interest. "The message has been delivered," she told her crew as they set course to leave the system. "Now we wait for them to reconsider their expansion policies." The viewer considered it a minor incident, regrettable but necessary collateral damage in their resource competition. In their culture, such tactical demonstrations were understood as political statements. They expected a diplomatic complaint at worst, perhaps some demands for compensation. They will slow their breeding cycle within a standard rotation, Cherishes predicted confidently as her ship entered FTL travel. No species would continue aggressive expansion after such a warning. What the viewer failed to understand was the significance of those 5 lost children. They had no conception of what they had just unleashed, of the line they had crossed, written clearly in a treaty they had dismissed as containing a curious but meaningless clause. As news of the attack spread through the colony, a terrible silence fell over New Eden. Parents clutched their children tighter, and in the communication center, the colony leader sent a simple message to Earth: treaty violation. 5 children lost. The viewer would soon learn what happened when human children were threatened: consequence and legacy. The message from New Eden reached Earth in the middle of the night. It traveled across vast distances through the quantum communication network that connected humanity's homeworld to its first interstellar colony. Simple and direct. Treaty violation. 5 children lost. Within minutes, the highest levels of Earth's government were awake and assembling. President Sarah Ndlovu wore a robe over her nightclothes as she hurried into the crisis center beneath the United Earth headquarters in Geneva. "Confirmed?" she asked as soon as she entered. General Omar Hassan nodded grimly. "Attack on a school transport. 5 children killed. Evidence points to viewer involvement." The room fell silent. Everyone present understood what this meant. "Activate the emergency broadcast system," President Ndlovu ordered. "All nations, all channels." As dawn broke across different time zones, people around the world woke to the same message playing on every device and screen. Treaty violation on New Eden. Return to your homes. Stay with your families. Further instructions to follow. Something extraordinary happened then. Nations that had fought each other for centuries set aside their differences overnight. Ancient enemies opened direct communication channels. Military forces that had trained to fight each other began coordinating their movements. In Beijing, military units moved into launch positions. In Moscow, nuclear submarines surfaced to receive new orders. In Washington, sealed bunkers opened to reveal technology that had been hidden from public view for decades. At 1200 GMT, an emergency United Nations session convened. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered, their faces grim with purpose. The session was not broadcast to the public, but it was transmitted directly to the Galactic Coalition. Admiral Elena Vega, recalled from her position as Earth's representative, stood before the assembly. Her dress uniform bore the insignia of 5 nations she had served throughout her career. 5 years ago, she began, her voice steady. We entered into an agreement with the Galactic Coalition. One term was absolute: the safety of our children. Yesterday, 5 children were murdered on New Eden. Screens around the chamber showed the faces of the victims: Zoe Reynolds, Elijah Park, Imani Okoro, Daniel Martins, and Sophia Chen, children who would never grow older. The evidence is clear. This was a deliberate attack by Vueler forces, a member species of the coalition. Admiral Vega continued. Under the terms of our treaty and the unanimous decision of Earth's nations, I am authorized to announce our response. She paused, looking at each representative in turn. Today, we activate Operation Sentinel. Those words sent a ripple through the assembly. Even among Earth's leaders, few knew the full extent of the program codenamed Sentinel. Satellite feeds appeared on the screens showing Earth from orbit. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then massive structures began to emerge from what had appeared to be ordinary satellites. Other platforms rose from beneath the oceans. Hidden installations on the moon powered up, revealing energy signatures far beyond what the coalition believed humans possessed. Since first contact, we have presented ourselves as technologically inferior, Admiral Vega explained. This was a strategic decision. While we shared some advances with the coalition, our most significant developments remained hidden. The screens showed orbital platforms unfolding into massive weapon arrays. Ships previously disguised as research vessels transformed, revealing military capabilities. On the far side of the moon, a massive hangar opened, revealing a fleet of warships that had been constructed in secret. In the Coalition Embassy on Earth, High Arbiter Klovox watched the broadcast with growing alarm. It had always found humans puzzling, but had never considered them a military threat. Now it was witnessing the unveiling of technology that rivaled or exceeded coalition capabilities. President Ndlovu entered the chamber and approached the podium. Her face showed no anger, only cold determination. High Arbiter Klovox, she addressed the crystalline being directly through the broadcast. You were warned explicitly in our treaty. The harming of human children would be considered an act of war against all of humanity. Now witness our response. Klovox immediately sent urgent messages to the Coalition Council. The humans were mobilizing at an unprecedented rate. Their hidden military capacity was far beyond Coalition intelligence estimates. The Coalition leadership received these reports with initial skepticism. Surely this was emotional posturing from a less advanced species. Humans were known for their dramatic reactions. No doubt they would demand compensation, perhaps increased security. The matter could be settled diplomatically. This assumption proved to be a critical error. Within 24 hours, Earth's orbital defenses were fully operational. Every ship capable of interstellar travel was mobilized. Civilians volunteered by the millions for emergency service. In her office overlooking the launch pads of the Kennedy Space Center, Admiral Vega received her formal appointment as Supreme Commander of Earth's Unified Defense Force. The document bore the signatures of every national leader. An aide entered with a personal message. Vega opened the file. It contained a picture of her granddaughter Lily with her arm around her friend Sophia, the same Sophia who had died in the attack. The photo had been taken just 1 month earlier, before Lily returned to Earth for her birthday celebration. The timing had saved Lily's life, but cost Sophia hers. For the first time since the crisis began, Vega's composure cracked slightly. She allowed herself 10 seconds of grief before straightening her uniform. "Assemble the command staff," she ordered. In the command center beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Earth's top military leaders gathered. The room hummed with activity as officers from different nations worked side by side, united by a single purpose. The coalition has responded to our demonstration. reported General Hassan. They expressed regret for the unfortunate incident, but claimed it was likely an accident or the work of rogue elements. Admiral Vega's expression remained unchanged. And the viewer? They deny involvement officially. However, our intelligence confirms that Grand Tactician Xeris authorized the attack. Maps of coalition space appeared on the central display. Key military installations, governance centers, and resource outposts were highlighted across dozens of star systems. They still don't understand what's happening, Vega said quietly. Prepare the fleet for immediate departure. Primary target, Vular Prime. The human response was surgical and overwhelming. Within 3 days, a fleet of 150 warships, previously hidden from coalition detection, arrived in Vular space. The Vular Defense Forces, considered formidable by coalition standards, found their systems disabled by technology they couldn't comprehend. Admiral Vega stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching as Vular Prime grew larger on the view screen. Final communication from the coalition, her communications officer reported. They're offering reparations, sanctions against the Vular, and a new protection agreement. Vega didn't turn away from the screen. Inform them that we are enforcing the existing agreement. No further negotiation is required. The Vular civilization was not destroyed through bombardment or invasion. Instead, humans employed a more calculated approach. Their ships positioned themselves around Vular Prime and its colonies. Targeted electromagnetic pulses disabled their technology. Specialized drones dismantled their infrastructure piece by piece. Within 1 Earth week, the Vular civilization, once a proud member of the Galactic Coalition, was reduced to a pre-industrial state. Their fleets were disassembled in orbit. Their databases were wiped. Their government was systematically removed from power. Not a single Vular was killed in the operation. Instead, they were left with enough basic technology and resources to survive, but nothing more. Their civilization, built over thousands of years, ceased to exist as a spacefaring power. When the operation was complete, Admiral Vega addressed the Coalition Council from the bridge of her flagship. The treaty has been enforced, she stated simply. Let this serve as a demonstration of humanity's resolve. We did not destroy the Vular species because we are not monsters. We dismantled their civilization because that was the appropriate response to their action. She paused, letting her words sink in. We will now return to peaceful cooperation with the Coalition under the existing treaty. We trust there will be no further violations. The humans withdrew as suddenly as they had arrived, leaving the Coalition in shock. The species that many had considered primitive had revealed itself to be something else entirely. A sleeping giant that, once roused, was capable of precision and determination beyond anything the Coalition had witnessed. In the aftermath, Coalition archaeologists and historians studied human history more carefully. They discovered a species that had endured countless internal conflicts but maintained an unwavering protective instinct toward their young. They found cultures spanning thousands of years that, despite vast differences, shared one common value: children must be protected at all costs. 5 years after the Vular incident, as it came to be known, Admiral Vega stood once again at the viewport overlooking New Eden. The colony had recovered and expanded. Children played in the plaza below, including some from other Coalition species whose families had chosen to settle among humans. Commander Wade joined her, now serving as the colony's security chief. The Coalition ratified the expanded human protection protocols yesterday, he reported. Every species has formally acknowledged our terms. Vega nodded. And the Vular? Still rebuilding. Our observers report they've developed a new cultural focus on child welfare. They're teaching their young about the human lesson, as they call it. Vega allowed herself a small smile. Then perhaps something good came from this after all. Throughout the galaxy, a new understanding had emerged about the species from Earth. Humans were collaborative, creative, and capable of great compassion. But there was one line that could never be crossed, a boundary written not just in a treaty, but in their very DNA. You do not harm their children. The message was simple and universally understood across the stars. We warned them, touch a human child, face total annihilation. And the galaxy listened.